Hi guys, welcome back to another Matchbox Garage video. I'm Rob and today I shall be attempting to take this Ford Capri, otherwise known as the Mercury Capri, from shabby to shiny. This one I've had for who knows how long. I kind of dug it out of the drawers, and to be honest this one was a little bit rough. It's missing the bonnet, and I guess I kind of only really considered it as a parts car because of that missing bonnet. There's also a bit of a crack in the rear window there, and actually it rolls really well, as you can see. Even on this very flat-ish turntable, it still wants to run off of that. But yeah, I think the plan, and kind of some of the more recent videos I've done, I just like to slam some cars, and maybe had the idea of fitting a huge engine in this one. But yeah, just another one that I'm kind of just having a little bit of fun with. But anyway, we'll drill down the centre of the posts, remove the flange. There's two on this car, and tap those holes. Please do remember to lubricate the end of your piece. You do not want to snap it. These tools plus everything else I use down in the Amazon links in the description below. But yeah, it rolls really well. It does read underneath Matchbox series number 54, Ford Capri, made in England 1970. So can you believe it? Over 50 years old now. And this one would have had probably a little 1.6 4-pot engine, and that's no good. We need a great big block V8 in there. That's better. So we need to somehow shoehorn that little beast in, and it can only make this car look so much better. I think it sits quite, these got the kind of chunky fat wheels. It sits quite high. The wheels are a little bit too wide. So the plan was to tuck in some nice little race wheels, race tyres, and also making sure that it's as low to the ground as possible. But yeah, popping out the original wheels here. And I'll throw those over into the parts box. I might do a little kind of mini series of parts box cars. I must have so many options in there to perhaps put something together. Might be quite fun. A little junkyard challenge kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, just chopping off the just out of screen, unfortunately, but yeah, just chopping the end of this tow hook off. Make it nice and flush. But the interior there, really dirty, really grubby. But another one that I considered painting. Quite an unusual colour combination, perhaps, in the final result. But I do like it. As you can see in the rear there's a bit of a crack. There's nothing we can do about that. Hopefully if I find a replacement I'll change it out, but otherwise it's not too bad. But you can see there just part of where the original bonnet was holding on, and I'll drill, or kind of cut those out anyway. So yeah, just trying to perhaps see where we need to fit this engine. For some reason this was being a little bit of a pain trying to get that in, but yeah, it will fit something along those lines. And of course we just need to cut out or remove the original engine and just replace it with this one. Well, let's take the body of the casting here into the mini long hot dog jar, covering with boiling water, and then in comes a tablespoon of caustic soda. Give a little swishy swish, and we see whether we can get a close-up of the action. You know, you'd consider that to be cloudy, but it's just so many little air bubbles. But you can see that paint is starting to lift, and it wasn't too long before we could flush it down the sink. The base here, I've taken it against a single sheet of sandpaper to try and flatten out the bottom somewhat, and then add a couple of, remove the original suspension piece and adding in our own little axle tubes there, lifting them up, and of course that will then lower the car. Can't believe really how grubby that interior is, but yeah, that'll clean up as good as new. As you can see here, really happy with that. My initial plan was to perhaps, because I thought it would just be stained and ugly even with a clean, would to be painting it, but actually, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Thankfully the windscreen there is in perfect condition, especially after a polish. The rear had some deeper gouges in it, but I managed to get those out, minus the crack, of course. So now we'll grab the Stanley blade and figure out how best to remove the original little 1.6 engine. Making sure not to hurt myself here. I actually did manage, I'm just looking at my hand now. I thought I really damaged myself on the last car, on the last video. I didn't mention it, but I don't know, can't remember really how I was doing it, but I had the piece in my hand and I was looking at it, and I was, cutting away from me, but I managed to slip, and thankfully my nail actually took a lot of the brunt of the force, but I'd still managed to kind of cross over two fingers and cut myself. I honestly thought that I'd have to go to hospital, but it was thankfully barely a scratch. But yeah, my nail rather than the skin took the kind of the first bash. But anyway, back to the video. As you can see, just cutting out that engine there, and yeah, trying to figure out how to fit in the larger one. And it just needed a little bit of trimming, a little bit of cutting, a little bit of manoeuvring, but eventually we can get it to fit. And I trial fitted this into the car whilst it was in kind of fixed position like this, and it just wouldn't go. So I had to paint them separately and then fit it separately once the car was all together. 100% paint removal. This was the first of this car being 4 times being in. I don't show them all, but yeah, I had a bit of a mare with this one. That's why the video's taken a little bit longer again. Does shine up very well, but yeah, that's the first of 4 attempts. And I've picked up some new primer. This is some Expo from expotools.com. I just picked this up on eBay. It was £9.99 including delivery, and compared to the Vallejo that I prefer to use, this was half the price currently. So I just thought it was worth a try. I think it's very similar. I do get an issue with it on the first, which I will show. And then eventually I tried another primer. Like I mentioned, this is painted over, well, 4 attempts is the final. So this was over 4 or 5 different days. I think this first part here, the primer went on okay, but I was trying to fit the engine after this, and I'd kind of nicked a little bit of the paint, so I added a little bit more paint, and once it had dried, it had kind of had this almost textured or furry finish is probably the best I could describe. But I wondered, what it would kind of look like. Perhaps it would smooth out. So I did go with the colour. We're going with a yellow today. I spoke to Danny, and I said to him, what colour do you think we should paint it? And he showed me a few real cool examples of Capris, and I had these kind of gold wheels already picked out. And I just thought to myself, gold wheels with a yellow paint probably won't really go very well. But I googled yellow cars and gold wheels, and they looked really quite cool. So I went with it. Not only did we have some paint issues, but I've also been having a few issues with my airbrush recently. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, this is after the first attempt of paint, and you may or may not be able to see, but there is a texture in this paint that I can only again describe as almost furry. And perhaps for certain things this would be a fantastic finish. But of course it just doesn't really work out for us on these die-cast cars. So little did I know this was going for the second. And then, so it's got another day, and I'd repainted it, and I had clear coated it, and then left it overnight. And I don't know how, why, what happened, but as you can see, all these little kind of air blisters appeared. And it was almost like this car just didn't want to be done. The last time I done a Capri, funny enough, it was for Dan, of Dan and Ellie, and it was for Dan's father, and that was a Capri. And I think it was gold, but that kept on having this similar problem. Perhaps I just have an issue with Capris, who knows. But anyway, I've now switched up to some pound shop. Would you believe, some pound shop primer? Bearing in mind that any other primer that I have, I spend between £10 and £20, which is about $15 to $30. I've always kind of led to believe, or that these pound shop primers were just never going to be any good. And it was Brian Artillery down in the comments below said, "Try it, Rob. What's the worst that can happen, really?" And I tell you what, I think I'm sold. It's only the first one, so I've got to give it, a couple of little tries, because I guess I've kind of been trained into accepting that cheap primers are going to fill in all the detail, but it really didn't on this casting. But looking at some others, we'll see how we get on. But anyway, it's a couple of days later again. This one's probably taken about a week. Stop, start, redo, repaint. But we finally got there. I left off the clear coat actually this time. I do like the kind of satin finish to this metallic paint. So I don't mind that there's no clear coat. I didn't, you know, after painting it 4 times, I just didn't want the clear coat to react. But yeah, we'll put a little bit of chrome on there. We know that's going to shine through or come through where the rear bumper is. And like I say, this does have a shine to it, not as much, but you've got the wheels in place there. Just a you know, relatively simple, just a chrome on the bumpers and that front grille. You can kind of see really there's not a huge amount of gap, but you know, it rolls still. But a very enjoyable one, this one, for me anyway. But yeah, from where it looked to this is how it turned out. Huge engine. I don't know whether the driver will really be able to see through the windscreen, but hey, it's just a Matchbox toy, isn't it? But I just love this colour. And like I say, yellow on gold wheels, I was never convinced, but I like it. It's different. I could have gone with a grey wheel, a silver wheel, a black wheel, but that would have been perhaps too predictable. Same with the interior, could have painted it black. Again, predictable perhaps. But yeah, I like this one. It's different, it's fun. It's just got the perfect ride height, in my opinion. And anyway, I hope you like it. Thanks to Brian for suggesting the Pound Shop primer. I think he's probably saved me a lot of money going into the future. But anyway, cheers guys. Massive thanks to my patrons again. Hope you like this one. Please do comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in a future video.